All right. Good Monday morning, everyone. I hope if you're in the Texas area that you are staying cool because it's hot as hell outside. I'm not even going to lie.
It's cold here.
It's hot as hell. We're all envious of Russell. But you guys are listening to Author Talk with me, Russell, Fern, and our lovely guest today is Bill. So, hey, how's everybody doing? How was everyone's weekend? Mine was super busy. So my oldest daughter turned 3 on Friday. And so I did a pizza party and everything at her school with all of her friends. And then on Saturday,
that kind of stuff is my worst nightmare.
I loved it. It was so much fun. And
even when I had little kids, I thought that was the worst part of life.
Russell. Okay. And then on Saturday, I did a joint birthday party because my youngest turns 2 in August, but it's like around school time and it's busy. So I did a joint Meadow and Sky birthday party on Saturday at like this. It's called Power Sports. It's where she goes to her school, but they have trampolines and inflatables and everything for like 2 hours. It was so much fun.
That sounds terrible.
Some of her friends came. My family, Josh's family came up for their birthday. So I was running around like a chicken when his head cut off, trying to like get my house clean, get everything done, everything set. Because then we had a taco bar at our house afterwards and all of this stuff. So it was.
I like the taco bar.
I like tacos.
It was crazy fun. So it was like a
I wish I could find
bar.
a good taco.
Oh, goodness. But on top of that, right? So on top of that, I get my car back because it had an issue. I get my car back.
Bill, this is her new car that she blackmailed her husband into selling his Harley so she could buy this car.
He did not sell his. He did
this
not
is that
sell his
bad.
Harley. Okay, first of all, it's a Honda State Line. It's not a Harley, and it's sitting in my garage. He did not sell it. I still have it. But anyways, it was having some issues. The driver's side air vents was blowing hot air, and the rest was cold. So anyways, on top of that, I had to take it in, and I get it back with no AC. So I'm waiting for them to get the part in to fix my AC. So I am a huge advocate for it being hotter than hell outside.
How's
That's
that
a terrible
degree working for you there?
That's a terrible weekend. It's terrible.
It was great with my kids and stuff. It was great. Like the car was a minor thing. I was pretty pissed about it. I'm not gonna lie, but it is what it is, and I'm just gonna wait it out. But what did everybody else do this weekend?
Well, I celebrated my birthday.
Yes, your birthday was Saturday.
She was 29.
29 again.
I love it.
Well, it's a little bit more than that, but we had a really good time. We had a very nice getaway weekend, and I got surprised. My writers group, I have a writers group that I do an intensive weekend with them every month. They sent me a little cake and a balloon and everything, so it was really nice. And then we went to shuffleboard and played some
and had a
shuffleboard.
beer.
Well, we didn't have beer because by then we'd had so much cake. You have to be very careful when you're diabetic, just how much sugar you take. So, but we did, and I did eat a lot of cake. I'm going to just say we indulged in cake this weekend, but it was fun because we learned a brand new game of shuffleboard, not like the standard shuffleboard, but like Crazy Eights is this version of it. So it's where you take the 4 of your weights at the same time and you send them together, and they have to stay on the table past the foul line on the other side. And then you have to like knock them all off, but try to keep the other weights on to score points that way. And so it was.
I think y'all needed a little more beer.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Bill, what'd you do this weekend?
Nothing as exciting as shuffleboard with Crazy Eights. I
was
tried to stay out of the heat. It is very hot in Houston, Texas, but I'm embracing the heat as much as I can.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was fun. And I actually got progressively better the first time I really.
As the more beer she drank, she's not telling us the truth.
Or more cake. What was the secret ingredient to the cake was beer.
Beer.
She just didn't know it.
That kept her sugar level. See, she'd have cake, then she'd have a beer, kept her sugar level.
Yeah.
So this weekend, I read on Facebook, a author complaining that other authors was befriending him on Facebook
Yeah.
because they were connected through authors. And then they were asking him to follow their pages, and he was complaining in the Facebook about that and disconnecting from them. And I thought that is a strange and weird complaint for someone that should be networking. And these are authors that we know and we encounter on the show.
Yeah.
And so they've heard us talk about the need to interconnect with other authors. And I just thought that was the strangest thing. Listen, if other authors are wanting you to network and follow each other's pages and help each other, you should embrace it. You should not attack them for it.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
That makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
I mean, because that's the whole point, is you're connecting to each other. I think it comes from the rat race mentality of corporate America, where like, I need to like put everybody else down to climb that ladder, or nobody else can buy any books except mine, because if they go and buy someone else's books, they won't buy mine anymore. It's like, that's not the way it works with books. Okay, if I'm selling you Mary Kay, yes, you can't go buy any soap from anybody else, okay? Because I need you to come and buy some more soap from me. But you're selling books, and people buy many books, and so like
on diverse subjects.
Yes, and from multiple authors, they follow. I mean, I don't have just one favorite author. I have many favorite authors that I read, and just because I read one fantasy author doesn't mean I'm not going to read the next one too, So I don't know. I think that mentality is short-sighted. It's just short-sighted.
Did you see the article in the New York Times today about the increase of independent bookstores nationwide? And then it did mention here in Houston, Blue Willow Books, and had a quote from that owner, and the Kindred Spirits and that owner. Just a couple hundred new independent bookstores being open since COVID started, and how well they're doing. And I think it's testament to what you're saying, is that people that want books, and they want a unique experience to go in and buy these books. And like I say, I buy them, and I want to touch them and feel them, and I want to go into a sense of community where I can share these experiences with other people in the bookstores. And the podcasts are very similar to those sort of experiences, where you're just, the more you can connect with others who are like-minded and even a little different out there, I think it makes us all a little bit better. So I'm with you, Russell. I think we ought to just connect more with people instead of unfollow and disconnect with people.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, if you're trying to expand your audience reach and stuff, how are you going to do that if you're not meeting and connecting with new authors, whether they're in the same genre or not, whether you've met them in person or you're in the same critique group? I don't know. But I mean, how else are you going to do that? And it's supposed to be one of those things where, like I read several different genres. So maybe someone knows me and they're like, hey, you might like this book. And so they add you so they can refer you. Like, you really are like tying your fingers in terms of the growth and success that you can have if you don't like work it with other authors and befriend them. Sometimes we have to be friendly with other people. I mean,
isn't that
Even
the whole
Amy.
idea behind bundles? I mean, I think that's the idea behind book bundles, right? Each author puts in like the first in their series or whatever, and so now you have this bundle of multiple authors in it, and all of the authors are trying to sell the bundle because their book is in it, right? And so as the other authors sell the bundle and you sell the bundle, everybody gets new potential fans, and everybody gets the book sales from that, and then it feeds into your series, right? So the idea is that you are cross promoting, because you're going to share fans, because you don't have to hog your fans, okay? You don't have to become cliquish about your fans, okay? Your fans can be the fans of other people too. It's like possessive. I don't know. Human beings tend to be very possessive. Even in relationships, we see that a lot. Relationships would be so much better if people were a little less possessive about, each other. I don't know. But I might get into my Sermonator box. So
Yeah,
Russell needs to
yeah,
stop.
Bill, she is terrible. You cannot let her get on her box because she will. It's awful.
I
But
will
she'll
sermonate.
sermon us.
My
I'll
book's
sermonate.
about there's more that unites us than divides us. So I'll keep our
Oh,
circle
there
going
you
back
go.
there all
And I
the
gotta
way.
tell you,
Nice.
we are so excited about this book. I am
Yeah.
because it's an important Houston book. It tells part of the story of Houston that if you didn't go through it, you
Oh my
may
God.
not understand it. And I think it's an important book, Bill.
Thank you.
Before we get to it, I want to thank those people listening to us on the podcast. More people listen to us during the week than watch us on Monday. We're really honored to be ranked as high as we are. Sometimes we're still surprised by it, but we thank you. Amy, where can people hear us?
Yes, so you can hear us anywhere that you can find a podcast. So iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Spotify, Apple, Google Play, anywhere that you can find a podcast. If you want to watch us in all of our animated glory, mostly me and Fern, not gonna lie, then go over to our Facebook
Is there
grid.
no
You can
glory
watch us.
in Russell? No
No.
glory. Just
No,
an
he's
old
not. He's
man.
not very animated. Okay, he's not very animated. Go over to our Facebook group and join us over there. You're more than welcome to. You can find any of us on social media. We are all open books. Our YouTube channel is also available if you want to watch us in that form or fashion. But tonight on Through the Eyes of Authors, we're going to be doing something different. So we are doing a group think feedback session. So I sent out an email last week about feedback looking towards the future and the 12 days of page turners and everything like that. And tonight we are group think and brainstorming together before moving forward. Next Monday, we are doing an SEO session with Brian Bearden. So if you have any questions about SEO, website design, anything like that, the 18th is the night that you're going to want to join us. So I look forward to seeing everyone tonight at 7 p.m. so we can make decisions about moving forward. That's what is happening tonight on Through the Eyes of Authors. It's exciting. I'm excited about it. It's going to be a really great conversation. So, yeah.
Well, I'm excited that
All
we
right,
can
so-
get on to Bill's book. You know, one of the
Yes.
things that
Did Russell freeze on us?
Looks like
He did.
I'm
He was leaving me in suspense because I was pulling up the image of the book and I was like, oh my gosh, did I freeze? Like, did I just cut everybody off? But Russell froze.
There
Russell,
we
come
go.
back. What were you saying, Russell? Russell? Oh, he's back. Okay, well, I'm gonna put up the cover of your book, and Bill, we're gonna get you talking about it while
We're just gonna start interviewing Bill now. Okay, Bill. So
Burn.
this book, okay. Tell me a little bit about what sparked your desire to write this book. You know, how did the idea of writing and putting together this book come about?
It came about just from my experiences of participating in Hurricane Harvey. So, and I don't really tell that much about the story. Briefly, I do, but I mean, I was just an average Houstonian sitting there with, millions of other people watching what was going on, the night before and overnight. I live in a big historic house that has a bunch of trees. I was very nervous that the trees in a hurricane were going to come through the house and then it was going to rain and everything was going to be ruined. So, I stay up most of the night watching TV, which, like I say, millions of people were doing that. And you wake up in the morning early and I didn't have any damage. And in many ways, many Houstonians kind of felt this guilt that there were this significant portion of the population that were impacted, and those of us that were not impacted wanted to do something. So my partner and I, we got out pretty early in the morning, 6 o'clock on a bicycle. And look, I'm pretty high. I'm at between 6'10" and 45, and all the interstates were full of water. You were basically landlocked, but we were high and dry. And they had put out that little announcement that there was going to be, a little area, George R. Brown, that you could go and volunteer. So I just decided around 7:30 in the morning that I was going to just plop on over there on my bicycle. And I thought I was going to work for like 2 hours. and I head there. 2 hours turned into 112 days of solid work. But just so we know. But
and Bill, was it not some of the greatest work you ever did in your whole life?
It was absolutely the most inspiring time of my life to see how people were willing to, the fair number of people that needed help, but the people that were willing to help. And the relationships, I mean, these guys that I met right there, I mean, we didn't know one another at all. And you get together, and I had to go through 4.5 feet of water. I didn't have any money. I didn't have my cell phone. And I picked up my bicycle and I went through this water, and I biked through Wortham Theater, and I could see feet of water pouring into Wortham Theater. And I got there, and the thing about the Red Cross is basically in charge. They couldn't get to Houston. You fly in these rescue workers, and the airports were still closed. And so I knew a few people, and so they put me in charge of volunteers. And I'm in a bicycle, shorts and a shirt and a yellow cap, wet. But I start coordinating the volunteers before the Red Cross really got there. And I worked that full day, and people were coming in on the dump truck, and we were getting towels from the Hilton American Hotel, and we were drying people and then drying towels and trying to feed people and separate the dog people from the women and the children, the homeless people. I mean, and literally people, I mean, many of them from the apartment where Russell and Melinda lived, but a fair number of volunteers came over from Park Place, but from the east end of downtown weren't really impacted. They could get to the convention center. This is me, just the first day. These are people coming in that just need help. That's the first day. And these are photos we took just from our cell phone. But wow. Those first week or two, and it was overwhelming. You would have people were lined up to donate. Some of the photos are the George R. Brown is this huge ceilings, and you filled up the George R. Brown with these donations. Then we filled up BBVA Compass. After that, this is the water that I went through, and literally just thousands of people willing to volunteer, thousands of people willing to donate. Thousands of people in need. And after the first few days, it was relatively organized. You had about 15,000 people. Look, you had the president coming. I had Ted Cruz over there working, volunteering. You had people lined up. You had Beyonce coming. But what I recognized
she was just across the park anyway.
Right. There were tremendous resources helping 15,000 people. But there were hundreds of thousands of people that maybe didn't need that level of help, but needed help. So after about the first week, I decided with some friends, they've got it organized here. And they were too organized for me. I'll be honest with you. I loved the beginning because parents came in and they brought their children and they wanted to demonstrate how they could work together. But with the Red Cross, they didn't allow children. We had people lined up for 10 hours to volunteer, but when the Red Cross got there, then they wanted you to watch a 30-minute video and sign a disclosure, and I'm not slamming the Red Cross.
The bureaucracy, right? The bureaucracy.
It was too bureaucratic for me. So we went off a week later, and we decided we would create the Harvey Relief Hub, and it was a hub of those who wanted to volunteer, pairing them with people that needed stuff. Information, those that needed information with those that are willing to give information. So it was, resources coming in, resources going out, services coming in, services going. Some people just wanted to go muck, and some people just needed mucking, so they didn't need to come to the hub for that. We just needed to know you're in Pearland and you need mucking, and you're close to Pearland and you want to go muck. It was a hub of information, a hub of resources, and a hub of donations. Yes, Russell?
So I worked Sunday for the next 4 days, all day at the convention center, just the way you described it. It was perfect description. And then after that, I guess you're where we got the addresses. I spent the next 2.5 weeks every day going to some stranger. I knew nothing about them.
Right.
You didn't care what they believed, what they thought, who they were. All I knew was this was a person that didn't have anybody to help them, because every day we got there, these were almost always people with no family in Houston, really no friends that could help them. And every day we went to a new house and we did everything. Is that what mucking is? I never heard that word.
That's it.
So,
You
so
cleared
every
4
day
hours
we
under.
would muck a house, and the gratitude that we received every day. And then, of course, you'd go home and take a shower and pass out because you were so exhausted. Next morning, you'd get up and go do
Do it again.
some other stranger's house. It changed my life.
Yeah.
It
So we were
changed my
clearing,
life.
we were helping dog rescue people. There was just some people just made meals and they just wanted to deliver the meal. Some people just made the meals and we had to find someone to pick up the meal and take them to the fire station or the church or to the homes or to the communities or the neighborhood. So, what I saw immediately was this huge outpouring of people who wanted to help. And a huge number of people. Look, my parents live in Memorial in a very affluent area and sat there. And then when the release happened, thought everything was fine. And all of a sudden they got 6 feet of water. You had the former Mayor Bill Whites of the world who got plenty of water in their house. So the thing was, rich people and poor people and Black people and white people and Democrats and Republicans, that they all both needed some type of help and all were willing to give some type of help. And that's really the basis of the book. From the hub, we ended up working, like I say, 112 straight days. The city, God love them, they stopped taking donations after about the first 5 days. They were a little overwhelmed. And I kept screaming at them, damn it, someone's going to need a coat in January. And we're going to wish that we just took the coats and we didn't have to give them in August. We could have just saved some of this stuff when they really, someone's going to need a Christmas tree. Someone's going to need a Hanukkah thing. Take the shit when people are willing to donate it because you can't create that demand later. So that's what we did. We just took stuff. We didn't know. And the hub was so fascinating because what would happen is all word of mouth through Facebook, Nextdoor, it was all just kind of social media. We got a little publicity, but then what we noticed was people from all over the country were driving to Houston, okay? And they would be circling 610 with their U-Haul full of stuff and had no place to take it. The city stopped taking it. So they found out about us. And basically every morning there were 18-wheelers from Kentucky or Wisconsin or North Carolina there where there had been a drive from a Boy Scout group or a Girl Scout group or a church or a business. And they would write little notes, praying for you, Houston, or whatever it was, just, wishing you all the best. And, those were people that had gone out of their cars, would drive up and it would be a family from Oklahoma where the kid was 10 and they'd had instead of their birthday celebration, they did a drive and they drove and they donated and then they worked for the day and they are teaching their kids a valuable lesson. And they would never have had this opportunity if it hadn't been for an outlet like the Hub, which was just purely volunteer driven. And you're just seeing the remarkable outpouring of support for our community from within the community and from across the entire nation. Literally every state in the continental United States brought things to the Hub. Every corporation tried to make some donation. We tell these stories. We got like 2 18-wheelers of ant killer. Okay. That's a hell of a lot of ant killer.
And you know what? You do need that.
You have parks across the entire city. After a flood, you get a lot of ants. So we equitably distributed all of that ant killer to each city council member's district so that they could provide that ant killer, both to the individuals that wanted it, but to the parks where people could go. And so we had.
What's interesting is people don't realize this, but there's like islands of ants in flooded water. I mean, that's one of the dangers.
It's the craziest thing. Like when I lived there and Harvey had happened, I don't know why it chose to like flood where we are, like in the middle of the night. So it's the first and probably honestly the last I will ever pull like a 2-dayer. I was up for 2 days straight, but you just saw like this floating. I don't even know. I didn't know what it was. It was a log. Yep. And it was just like, they had like locked together. They were massive first, but like locked together and they were just floating. Nature. And it was like, it took me getting bit to realize that they were ants. Okay. But yes, that is not a fun thing.
Ants are a thing.
Yeah.
It was
answer
just
things.
the most remarkable experience. Like I say, you would have, and to just go back to the George R. Brown, the bureaucracy, you would have people say, well, maybe we should limit, one package of diapers and one bottle of bleach for you, Fern. But what we saw that Fern was able to get to the hub, and she had 30 neighbors that couldn't get there, and she was getting for the 30 neighbors,
and everyone was
supporting
helping everyone.
That's what you do. Don't ask any questions. Don't make some assumptions. Don't be too regulatory over here. And literally, we had a huge warehouse, the size of a mini Target. And every day it would fill up, and every day we would deplete it, not knowing if we were going to have something the next day, but just through faith, if you just put the word out. And literally, it was just these 18-wheelers would show up with diapers, with blankets,
and I think that's
with
really
underwear,
what you just said. What you just said is so critical because we do have this tendency of like, just what you need, but you don't know who that person is coming in for, and like you said, there may be neighbors that are unable to get there, not just because there was flooding or whatever, but physically, maybe they're not able to physically.
Plenty of people in their 50s coming to take care of their 80-year-old parents, and their 80-year-old parents have friends that are 80 years old, and the 80-year-olds weren't able to get to us. But yeah, you just couldn't make any assumptions. You just needed to do the right thing and help people, and don't ask a lot of questions. Certainly we had immigration issues going on and all kinds of rhetoric. Look, we didn't ask for anyone's ID.
No one cared at that time. You had humans in need. It was, and everyone was helping everyone. Nobody was worried about any of that. It was a different universe.
Look, we could have, and like I say, we had the parents and the kids, and schools were out, and in the beginning, you just had tons of things. But I never in my wildest dreams thought we'd be doing that 112 days. And the only reason we were able to do it 112 days was for 111 days, people kept donating. They kept volunteering. They kept providing things that were needed by other people. And to think, you think, well, the first week or two, there's just going to be this big rush, but it lasted much longer than you thought. And it's just because some people couldn't get their stuff here that quickly. But there were, like I say, it's just amazing the outpouring that you saw and the lessons that were learned. And so I had this opportunity a year later to go give this commencement address at Sam Houston State University, where I'm from. And you're trying to think, what can I really say? Look, I'm just an average guy over here, just living life. But to be able to share this message with those graduates that, look, what are some lessons? Treat people with respect. Look them in the eye. Everyone needs some help at some point in life or whatever. Don't be embarrassed to ask for help, but also take the opportunity to serve when you can. I all the time people say, well, I wish I had gone to the George R. Brown. Well, damn it, go next time. Don't think about it. I didn't think about it that long. I just went because it was something that
and it's true. Find an opportunity to serve sometimes where you're at, because sometimes getting to like the George R. Brown or whatever might have been hard for some of us, but there was opportunities in your neighborhood churches and that were also helping.
There were thousands of groups just like us. We're not trying to in any way imply that we're the only ones doing that. In every little neighborhood, there were people working out of their garage or out of their church, like their civic association, businesses, thousands of groups were doing the exact same thing throughout their certain neighborhoods, and it's remarkable. And like I say, some just cooked, some just answered the phone, some just delivered, some went to muck, some had a tool that the other one needed, some had, and you just see this pairing of needs and wants with those who are willing to serve and do and give. And it was pretty remarkable to see across the whole region. And that is the Houston story. That is how unification and we're much stronger together. And it's these examples, one of the largest catastrophic events in our country's history showed us how amazing we are when we pull ourselves together, and how united you really can become, and that we have been, and that there's more that unites us than divides us, for sure.
And I love that message. I think it's a really important message, especially nowadays. to remind people that we're all human and that, we need each other. So this book, you put it together to inspire us. And what are some of the things that you hope, people will take away from it, besides obviously the stuff that you've already mentioned, but like, what are some of
the main thing that I try to get across, and it's even in the title, Heroes, Hope, and High Water, is that we are all surrounded by everyday heroes. Some of those people just, pay for the coffee behind them in the line at McDonald's. And some people are out just coaching Little League. And some people are out just cleaning trash from their neighbor's yard or the park. They're everyday heroes around us all the time. And for us to recognize that you can be a hero to someone else by doing something very small. It doesn't have to be this large heroic thing that gets notified in the newspaper. It's the little things, and it's the collective little things. When I sign books at book signings things, I write everyday heroes surround you, and then I sign, because I want people to be reminded of the little things that people are doing, the small acts of kindness, the small acts that are consistently we're seeing in our day, just helping someone in a parking lot or translating something, or just the small deeds are just as important as the large heroic deals. And for us not to forget that these everyday heroes surround us, and they are our parents doing a heroic act. They are our best friends. They are a community leader who's trying to improve their neighborhood. But they're very small acts that are cumulatively make a huge difference in our lives. And don't forget to thank people. Don't forget to recognize them, and don't forget to do it yourself. I mean, that's really the message that I wanted to try and get on. We've had freezes, and you've had, politics is so divisive, and you keep talking about walls and all this sort of crap that makes it sound like we've got these huge differences. And look, a lot of society is polarized, but I assure you that when you get down to just the basics, that there are way more things that we could agree upon. And if we focused on those agreements a lot more than our differences, we'd all be a little bit better off emotionally, physically, collectively, and as a country, And so I think it's more important for us to send that message and to remind ourselves this. It's a quick read. I'd love to write the great American novel, and someday I hope that I get the chance to do that. This is what I had the chance to do. Take that commencement address, put it into something realistic. Our photos are not glossy. Look, I don't have a PhD in writing or anything. It's down to earth. It's simplistic. It's something a 15-year-old can read. It's something that, someone who had that experience might want to be reminded, but it's just a good
I think
experience.
The really one of the things that you said that for me was very important. Not just that you look around and you see the everyday heroes, but to be one, right? It doesn't take a lot. You don't have to do a lot to just do something nice. Like I remember just even, before COVID, when you had the little at the Starbucks, you had to pour your own coffee and your own milk and sugar in it. Right now they have to give it to you. But it was always a hot mess. Every time I would get to one, it was messy. People left it dirty. It took 2 seconds to just wipe it down real quick.
Right.
For the next person to have a little bit neater experience. And it's like, you can make a difference even in teeny tiny little things. And I think that message of like, don't just look for the heroes, but be someone walking and just being nice and simple kindness. I love that message. So you talk about wanting to be the next great American novelist. What are some, ideas that you're tossing around?
So I'm working on these. They're called 10 essays, and it's contemporary essays about our lives today in 2022, and it's homelessness and how we all see homeless people. And my experience kind of with the hurricane is very similar. We all want to do something. Every time we see, and we become numb because we see these homeless people, and then we roll up our windows and we make sure we don't talk to them, and we drive off as quickly as we can. But I think down deep, we all want to do something and we don't know what to do. So my 10 essays are things like NIMBYism and gentrification and these conflicts that we talk about I'm writing and perfecting these 10 contemporary essays that I hope to put together into a book. And like I say, they're thought provoking, a little more in depth than this latest book. But that's really kind of what I'm working on at the moment of my next great writing adventure, because I hope that each of those chapters, is a very important part of our lives. We're trying to save one house in Houston for affordable housing. It's in Freedmanstown. And so one of the essays is, does one house matter? And look, they all matter. And every time you lose one house and then one more house gets torn down and you replace it with 6 more townhouses, you lose that sense of community. You lose that kind of housing stock that was important, but we lost the opportunity to create an affordable housing. You can imagine the hate that I get from just trying to create one affordable housing unit. The neighbors think I'm going to lower their values. They think it's going to contribute to crime. We're talking about, and so we put the land into a land trust so that people just have to pay for the house. It's a little bungalow. It's 900 square feet. You can buy it for $100,000. You can be a teacher at Carnegie Vanguard over here in Freedmanstown, and you can make $50,000 and afford to have a house that you wouldn't otherwise be able to get. But it is like pulling teeth over here to get people to understand the fireman and the policeman and the assistant manager and the supervisor and the AT&T worker can't afford to live in my city anymore. And if we don't do something about it, we're going to have this huge division of have versus have not. So I'm just trying to get this one done. And it's difficult. And so this next round of it's explaining this sort of scenario and the feedback that you get from that sort of thing. So it's 10 contemporary essays on 10 issues that impact almost all of our lives today, but you just don't think about it as much unless someone brings it to your attention. So that's what I'm working on.
Yeah, and it's so very true, because the housing market prices have just skyrocketed, and that's nice for the ones that have it right now. But the reality is, younger generations, are not able to buy houses. They're not even thinking about getting a house.
I have a 28 and 29-year-old that make a pretty good living, but it's next to impossible to live in the inner city. Now they could go basically to Pearland, I guess, but they don't want to live in Pearland. They want to live in the inner city.
But they also have additional costs.
When I came to the Heights, every house had a chain link fence, bars on the windows, and a Doberman pinscher, and so you got to have enough vision over here to see some of these neighborhoods. So my kids aren't able to buy a charming little bungalow for $700,000. They got to go to the next Heights area and buy a house for $150,000 and put some elbow work into it and collectively find other people to do the same sort of thing and build other communities. There are affordable housing in Houston, Texas. They just don't look like the $700,000 bungalow does. And you got
right. And they're not just ready to move in with like the countertops all granite. And all that. You're going to have to do a little something for it. Yes, that's for sure. But also, when you're looking at people living further out, yes, the house is more affordable, but then you have commute, and you have gasoline, and you have, a lot of other things, expenses.
I'm a huge anti-parking person. Now, I'm often not the most popular guy in the room, but Houston has the largest parking regulations of any city in the world, and which means we have the largest number of parking lots in the world also, which means we also contribute to the largest amount of traffic deaths and pedestrian deaths from all of these people trying to get to these parking lots or whatever.
Well, it's hot. People need air conditioning.
One example I give is I like to drink. I'm going to go to my bar, so we have the largest number of bars with parking lots, which encourages people to drive to a bar and then drink and then drive home. If the bars had no parking, you know what we would do? Drink the exact same amount. You would just Uber to your bar, or you would have someone drop you off, or you would have more bars that you could walk to. You would move where you could walk to a bar. We don't need large parking lots at bars. We don't. Now and people say, well, people are going to park in front of my house, and I don't want strangers parking in front of my house. And I have to say, get the hell over it. That right of way is for all of us. It's not your private parking spot in front of your house. You live in an urban core that needs to look like the urban core or whatever. And so those are kind of another one of these topics or whatever that we have, where we have reduced downtown Houston for 53 years has had zero parking regulations. Okay, you can build the Marriott Marquis and you just build whatever the market will yield for parking. And you know what we have in downtown Houston? Ample parking. The private sector and individuals have invested in parking where you don't have a bunch of empty parking lots. You get Discovery Green instead of a parking lot, which is what an urban core would want to have. So to think beyond, if you keep widening the interstates, you're just going to get more people driving on the interstate. If you find alternative ways for people to commute, they will find a way. They'll adapt accordingly. Other cities have proven this. It's the way that urban cores are going to evolve here. We have built a city that wanted to get people as quickly as possible out of downtown and to the Woodlands and Pearland, which means your downtown is empty. It's not vibrant. It's not thriving. Until we bring more people back to the inner core and the inner city and create grocery stores and apartment complexes and more restaurants and things at the ground level, not in a tunnel underground, you're never going to have the thriving downtown core that you are in a city like New York or Chicago or LA or other things. We've got to change our mindset. And look, I'm not anti-suburbia, and I understand what's there. But if there were more things for people to do in suburbia, they wouldn't commute to downtown. And we ought to be able to have a mixture of both, a vibrant downtown and a vibrant suburban environment. So thinking through.
I'm going to look forward to reading that book that you're working on now, because it sounds like it's going to have some
It's a little more intriguing
conversations. Yes. But I'm glad that you have the book about the Harvey and honoring the Houston Strong community that and all the beautiful people from everywhere that helped us. And I think it's a beautiful project that you put together. And I don't know if Amy has it to put up again on the screen, but like everybody should definitely get a hold of this book and enjoy some of the uplifting messages of what it is to be human.
We're hoping with the 5-year anniversary of Harvey, there'll be some good publicity that can remind people that, look, these events happen. And it's not the last one that's going to happen. It's not the last hurricane. It's not the last catastrophic event. And so we do need to kind of be reminded in turbulent times, look beyond just the turbulence and look to the goodness of people. And I'm hoping that's the message that we're sending to our kids and to our coworkers and to our community members. And if the more that we can get that word out, I think the more that we can focus on something a little more positive than just division.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much for sharing that with us today. I'm going to kick it over to Amy.
Yes, my computer's running slow. So if I'm lagging, I'm sorry, because that's where I'm like, everything was running slow and I was trying to get it.
I thought you intentionally kicked me off twice.
No, Russell, I would never do that. Never. But as someone that, experienced Harvey, it was like my first one. I only lived in Houston for not even 5 years. I want to say it was like 3 to 4 years. It was definitely something, like Russell mentioned, that it does change you, and it changes you in such like a humble way, because we saw everyone come together. We were the ones that were out mucking houses and helping tear out drywall and just making it where other people that were affected more than we were. So we got everyone from the first floor in my building. I lived in 610 square feet. And there was an elderly lady that had a dog. This guy had a hurricane party down below, and I brought them all up into my apartment. So I had over 10 people in my apartment, and I want to say like 7 to 8 animals in my apartment. And so it was just one of those, you knew what the right thing was to do, and you just went and you did it. You didn't care about anything else, and everyone was just, it was refreshing. Like everyone just loved each other and wanted to help. And so it really was the scariest moment in my life, but also the most rewarding, because you really could see the genuine love that everyone has for each other when things like this happen. It should be like that all the time. So it's one of those things. I'm with Russell. It really did change my life. I couldn't get to the George R. Brown. We were underwater for a really long time, so we couldn't do that at all. But it was one of those things. So I'm really looking forward to your book. I'm going to go and get it, because it's one of those that I think you should read yearly to kind of keep you in that mindset and perspective on life for everything. But you guys, remember tonight on Through the Eyes of Authors, it is a groupthink feedback session. So please attend so we can get everyone's opinion before we decide to move forward and start planning the 12 days of page turners. That is coming up fast. And if you want to be a part of it, please send me a message, an email, whatever. The only thing that we ask is that you are offering some kind of holiday special on your books. And that's all that we ask. It is free to attend and to be a part of. Just let me know if you want to be there. But Bill, thank you so much for writing this book, for everything that you've done, and just really being involved in highlighting all the amazingness that did come out of Harvey, and for coming and sharing your Monday morning with us. We were so excited for this conversation. So thank you so much for making the time to come and talk to us. But let's do closing comment statements and stuff like that really quick from everybody. So Russell, I'm going to go to you first.
I'm speechless, believe it or not.
Oh my God.
After what you just said and the interview between Bill and Fern, it was just beautiful. I'm just speechless. It's exciting and it's important for Houston and for all of us to understand just the other side of Harvey and how it really did unite people in a wonderful, wonderful way. That's really all I have to say.
Absolutely. You.
I'm just going to say I love the message in this book. And I just want to remind everybody, when you're tempted to be negative and think of other people as like enemies, or, be upset about this or that, remember that we're all humans. We're all trying to make it in this world, and just do a little kindness for someone, or just randomly here and there, because it does come around again, so it's just a good way to live.
And I just want to thank all three of you for this opportunity to expose people to my book, and just to be able to share with the three of you was very rewarding. And echoing that, I mean, be a hero, find a hero, recognize heroes, and go out and just never forget that you're surrounded by people doing great things, and every small thing you do makes a huge difference in people's lives. So that's the message I want to keep sending out there, and hopefully you'll read the book and be inspired, and like I say, give it to a friend. It's a good uplifting message that can be reminded all the time. So
absolutely. Well, you guys, we hope that everybody has a great Monday, a great rest of your week, and you can catch us all next Monday. Bye, everybody.